Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Hey, guys. We just had a power failure that lasted, I guess, an hour and change. We didn't know if we were going to make it on air or not, but they just came on and I got a chance to kind of throw a few things together that I intended to do today but hadn't had ready. So it's been a crazy start. So bear with me, bear with whatever I have to do right now to try to get online, but we're just recovering from a power failure. I tell you something. I am from a supposed banana republic. In this town in Kingwood, Texas, every single time that it rains and we get a thunder cloud or a thunder storm or something, the power goes out. Every single time. This is about the third or fourth time this week that we had a glitch. Normally it lasts a few minutes or so. This time it just went on and on and on. Anyway, so I asked, who is in the Banana Republic? I'm starting to wonder if we are in fact becoming a Banana Republic and the Banana Republics are becoming plantain republics. You get it? Plantain. That is Americans call plantains a big banana, but it's a similar plant, but the flavor is somewhat different. I don't know if you guys have it. We make patacones with that, or we make all kind of goodies with these with all these tropical fruits. So as I'm speaking with you, I'm putting some final touches on the network. So I hope you will bear with me. I hope you'll forgive me for whatever mistakes or screw up that I make. But we got to get it going, and it's only me. And why is it only me? Because that's all we can afford at this time. But of course, if folks make sure to keep supporting our network by going to our Patreon at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, or subscribing to our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and select the paid option, that will help us get some assistance so that one person doesn't have to be doing all of this to make sure we have a good program. So just a little word there, just a little teaser, but sort of a urging that more of you who listen to us, and we got quite a followership. Our newsletter subscription base is over 9,000 with only 100 subscribers. Our YouTube is about 30 something thousand and a couple hundred or so subscribers, and we are looking at things like 199 type subscribers, 199 a month type subscribers. So we could really use some more subscribers. I'm talking as I try to get these all these signals going and making sure that we get online in the different places that we need to get online. So bear with me. I'm going to start the program officially in a minute. Just need to put a couple more final touches on, and then we will be ready to go. But I like to make sure and keep time and make sure all is perfect. Okay, vamos a comenzar el programa. We're going to start the program. Let's go ahead and see who's with us in the house. Whoa, a lot of folks are in the house already. Michael Rudnin is in the house. Great, Michael. Great to see you here. Paul Fleming is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. Mike Cisak is from Missouri. I don't remember what town in Missouri. Hey, Mike Cisak, what town in Missouri are you again? Forgot. Who else have we got? Carl Cox is out of Georgia. I don't remember what town in Georgia. So Carl Cox, give me your town in Georgia. And And CSAC, give me your town in Missouri. I'm going to try to inculcate it in the mind. Barcelona, Spain, from Melanie Keelan. Melanie Keelan is in Barcelona, Spain. We also have, of course, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. And let's see if anybody north of Columbia is Mike Cisak, north of Columbia, Missouri. Well, great to have you here. Great to have everybody here. Anyway, today we have a great subject. But before we start, let me see what Michael says. He has something he wants me to read. So bear with me, folks. Let's do this. Common dreams. Dystopian. UAE used global climate summit to push 100,000 billion in new oil deals. Patrick Gailey, senior investigator for Global Witness, referring to the 28th conference of the parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Make no mistake, COP28 was hijacked by the interests of the fossil industry. Jerry said, fossil fuel firms weren't content simply to block or stall genuine climate policy, but used the opportunity to pursue more climate wrecking oil and gas deals. Galley continued, the UAW knew exactly what it was doing and was not let down. COP28 seems to have been molded towards the benefits of its state oil. As depressing as its dystopian climate talk must never be allowed to create more climate chaos. Representative Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan, said Global Witness report is a disturbing warning about the potential for further fossil fuel corruption at COP29, which incredibly will also be hosted by another fossil fuel executive. I will continue urging the US and the UFCCC to adopt new policies to prevent those absurd conflicts of interest that frustrate the international community work to address the urgent threats of climate change. I can see that's coming in our near future. We're living through the last few years before global warming reaches 1.5 degrees C and then begins to rapidly accelerate until out of humanity's hands by 2035, when 2 degrees C is passed and we see our first blue ocean event and the Amazon rainforest turns to savanna, which is followed by biological diversity collapse, mega droughts in some areas, wet bulb temperatures in others, agricultural shortages leading to famines, large swaths. It's already started. It has already started. This is not conjecture, folks. This is not conjecture. This is not conjecture at all. So, folks, we have to really start talking about what we're talking about here for real. Anyway, let's see what else I have to do. Bear with me 1 second. I got to leave a message. Let's see right here. Okay. Anyway, folks, let's continuing. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see what else we got here. Caitlin Clark is being physically and verbally attacked instead of welcomed into the WNBA. Ex-team owner says Kelly Loeffler, a former Georgia senator who also co-owned Atlanta Dream, wrote on social media Tuesday that Caitlin might be the best thing to happen to WNBA, and instead of being welcomed, she's physically and verbally attacked. Loeffler responded to an Outkick report that State Senator Jim Banks, Republican in Indiana, wrote a letter to the WNBA commissioner, Kathy. Look, let me tell you the story about Caitlin. Caitlin is really bringing it to the NBA, the WNBA. She has brought a whole new bunch of eyeballs to the thing. A lot of women who built the WNBA, they have a feeling of, let me see how to put this correctly. There are hundreds of top women players out there, and I don't want to take anything away from Caitlin. Caitlin is a damn good player. Caitlin Clark is a damn good player. But there are a lot of other players that feel that they paid their dues, and even as they paid their dues, that somehow they didn't get their dues, if you will. And it's not about only eyeballs that they're talking about, because they think that a lot of eyeballs that Caitlin got was the manufactured eyeballs. And what I mean by this, Caitlin is a superb player. She's tops. She ranks among the tops of the players. And when the media addressed her, and when the media put all their focus on her, and they gave all her stories, and they propped her up as she should, as they should. And with that propping up by the media for her being so great at what she does, she gets a lot of eyeballs because, again, she's great, and the media told everybody that she's great. But there are a lot of other players of other persuasions that are great as well. They never got the eyeballs, not because they couldn't have gotten the eyeballs, but because they did not get the coverage that Caitlyn got. And for those who immediately going to say, Derek, Berta, you're going to make this a racial issue. Yes, I am, but not on the general American population, but on the producers of programs, the people who are in the head offices that do these things. Let me explain. It's very important that I explain this because until we change things on the top, when for the people who make decisions in media and all of that, all of us as a society pay the price. Caitlyn is paying the price of the neglect of executives who gave her the opportunity to get the eyeballs she deserved and deny others that opportunity. I want you guys to understand that. Caitlyn is great, but a lot of what she's suffering in the NBA, which is unwarranted, she shouldn't be because it's not her doing. She's not the one who made her the icon for the WNBA because of her current greatness. It was others. So when you see the reaction, and I'm not justifying that hard foul that they throw Caitlyn down on the ground, they should throw her out of the game, right? Because she could have hurt Caitlyn, right? What I'm saying, however, is a lot of things are manufactured by the people up top because of their own prejudices up top. I hope you guys understand the entire nature of what I'm trying to say. So that's what I want to talk. That's how I want to express that, Eric. So let's see. The Texas Stock Exchange, owned by TXC, are founded into per its LinkedIn, will be a fully electronic stock chain. It's another fraud. All right, let's go. Let's continue. If you tell me stock exchange, if you tell me any stock exchange that's built is a fraud, it's a gambling casino, irrespective of how pretty you make it look or whatever. All right. Michael Ruddin says, Carl, fossil fuel money goes to every Republican and about 2/3 of Democrats. You might want to look at anti-corruption progressive Democrats if you want to change the situation. All right, let's see. Mike Cisak says, Eric Hayes, I haven't, but have heard people good results usually. Of course, my oldest sister swears by red infrared treatments. I guess that's a thing I'm not familiar with. All right, let's continue here. Let's see. Oh, that's too long, Eric, but I imagine that it is one of those right-wing things which I just just skimming it tells me it is. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says C-SPAN House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries blasted Representative Byron Donalds, a black lawmaker, on Wednesday for arguing that black families were stronger during the Jim Crow era, comments he reportedly made Tuesday night at a Trump campaign event in Philadelphia. I don't know how a lot of these black Republicans that are sucking the tit of Donald Trump, I don't know how they live themselves. From Tim Scott to Byron Donalds. I mean, these guys are shameful. You know, they're shameful. I mean, they might as well put some hoods on, you know? All right, Paul Fleming says, so two of the most influential nations in America, the United States and Canada, have never elected a female leader. Canada had a female PM, but she was not elected. Meanwhile, Mexico, Jamaica, Brazil, Barbados. But let's go further. And the Muslim nations we talk about who treat women badly, like Pakistan, oh, they've elected a woman before. Several Muslim countries and African countries. Oh, Liberia. The president of Liberia was a woman. It's amazing. We like to judge, but don't judge lest you be judged. All right, hey, Lee Grant is in the house. Welcome, Lee Grant. How are you doing today? What else have we got here? What else have we got here? You don't do violence on anyone, and you're making excuses is not right. Again, if it takes some critical thinking, Eric Hayes, to understand what I was saying before, and it's clear to me that you refuse to trust your mind to do that. I gave a logical explanation, and a fact-based info about eyeballs and how great this girl is to the game, but also how others were not given the opportunity that she was to get those eyeballs. And instead, you come back with the same silly stuff. At some point, you're going to have to critically think, brother. Some point, and be able to have a conversation and not just exchange platitudes or not just exchange rhetoric or talking points. Think. My God, think. That's why we are human beings. Think. Billy Allison Irwin, someone is your own personal troll. How you doing, Billy Allison Irwin? Great to see you here. Also Maywood from Long Beach, California, and Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. Love to have you guys here. Lee Grant says two-parent black families were the norm in the past. Democratic policies in the 60s destroyed much of that. Look, while that is not what destroyed the two-parent family, though you are partially correct in one respect. When they started to disperse welfare, and again, it was done in another racist manner, what they did is they pretty much they pretty much took the father out of the home, or else funds were reduced. I don't remember the exact formula and how it was calculated. So while Lee Grant may have said it with the wrong connotation and said it wrongly, the policies did not just affect black people, it just affected the family, period. But since the families that have struggled the most because of historic reasons are black families, of course, it would affect them in a disjointed manner. I forgot the word that I want to use. But again, like I tell you, folks, don't just take the top line off of issues. Try to go a little bit deeper. That's why I have this program. Hopefully, both the people on the right and the left, in the middle, wherever, will just stop for a minute and do some level of critical thinking and not just shooting off the first thing the right wing tells you to say. The right wing assumes you're dumb. Understand this. The people that you follow, disproportionate manner. Thank you about that, Yvette. You're right. Disproportionate manner. Now, look, we ask for critical thinking. Try, E2247 said it as well. Thank you, disproportionate. That's all we ask. Think critically. Think logically. Stop pulling the talking points. The right thinks that you guys are stupid. Don't make it true. I don't. All I ask you to do is follow the pathway with me. Where you think I'm wrong, specify specifically where you think I'm wrong. We can have a dialogue about that. But sometimes, Eric, to just come out and say, oh, thugs or this, no. There's only one major thug that we can look at and by definition qualifies. That's former President Trump. You look at the actions that he has taken, going on a national forum and pushing other heads of state out of the way to get in front of a line, ripping off people. Come on now. Let's be frank. All right, Paul Fleming says, this is where we're headed if Trump is elected. Watch China take CNN off the air as Anderson Cooper marks 35 years since Tiananmen Square massacre. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. All right, brother Tim Danahy says, a 25-year study of Head Start was performed, and it was determined this government program has a huge financial and societal rate of return. The investment paid well. government works. My brother Tim Danahy nails it. It works. All right, Eric Hayes says, look at South policy for smart policy makers, cause the problem, then try to solve before elections, buying votes. You see what I tell you about not critically thinking? Look at South policy. Wrong. South policy is a failure. That is why the southern states, which are predominantly red state, the people are poorer. The people are dependent on the blue states for support. They are bigger states. We have to, I mean, not we, the blue states have to support the red states because they don't have enough to support their own people. The people in red states are not as healthy as the people in blue states. These are not questions. These are statements of fact that's verifiable. What else is there again? Oh, by the way, not only are they healthier, they get better health care everywhere else except red states. The lifespan is longer in blue states. So no, Eric, the evidence stares you in the face. And when I talk about critical thinking and not being able to be logical, having all this information and still putting silly statements out speaks poorly. So please. All right. Paul Fleming says this is where we could potentially be headed if Trump is. I saw that one, and that is taking stuff off the air. And you know we have a lot of programming that I have planned. Not only here on our internet station PDR, but also we have it programmed on KPFT, where not only am I going for the KPFT proper program in Houston, but we should be on air in about 200 stations. That is politics done right, including our flagship stations, which are probably New York, Berkeley, LA, DC, and I'm missing one somewhere. But anyway, so I just put, and by the way, all of this is done on a volunteer basis, but I'm putting the show into syndication so that all these stations around the country can pick it up for free. And because we need coverage of what we're doing. And by the way, Texas is as well a bigger state. If you take a look at how much Texas get, I mean, uh, 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 except for, well, I shouldn't say that because oil makes a big difference. But anyway, continuing. So no, Texas is a break-even state. You can look at the charts. I think it's something like either 99 cents or $1 and one. I don't remember what the ratio is, but it's one of those. Okay. All right. Paul Fleming says Bob Costas make it plain on why Alyssa Thomas' recent flagrant fall on Angel Reese didn't spark as much conversation as what happened to Caitlin Clark. It's a black on black incident. You don't have the dynamic that people can comment on, but also exaggerate and make the entire story. Oh, wait, what do you mean? Let's see if I understand that. Bob Costas make it plain on why Alyssa Thomas' recent flagrant fall on Angel Reese didn't spark him. Oh, you're saying that Alyssa Thomas white? Oh, interesting. Wow. I didn't even put it on. No, she isn't. She isn't. Okay, let me see if I understand what you're saying. Bob Costas make it plain on why Alyssa Thomas' recent flagrant foul on Angel Reese didn't spark as much I got it. You're talking Angel Reese, not Caitlin Clark. I got it. 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 All right. Again, Eric still doesn't seem to understand what act your wage means, to not break yourself or your employer, to not do more than what you're signed up for, and to not give your personal time for your work. If employers don't recognize extraordinary effort with promotions, including raised wages, there's no point ever to put in such effort. I mean, it's easy to understand, but Eric is blinded by is blinded by quite a bit. But I get it. Deep inside, he had to get it. All right. Paul Fleming says what they're saying is because it's two black players and Angel Reese, a rookie that had a flagrant foul, no one talks about it. I get it. I get it now, Paul. I get it. I get it. Danny, he says 1/3 of Texas budget is from federal subsidies. Texas gets $100 billion per year. There you go. Thank you very much for that number, Tim Danahy. So again, we got to be honest with ourselves. We like to lie to ourselves. All right, Mike Cisak says socialist president of Mexico warned Democrats that trying to jail their political opponents on trumped up charges would damage them, just like what happened to the opposition that tried with him. And but the charges on Trump, there's nothing trumped up about it. Trump is a master thug, and that this time he got hit. It's amazing. He should have been hit so many times before. But anyway, let's get into the program as to the topics that I really want to talk about today. The first one being U.S. agencies. No, let's go with the Elon Musk story first. Let's go with the Elon Musk story. And I want to start reading it this way, okay? And by the way, if you're on Twitter, please go ahead and retweet, please. If you're on Twitter listening to the program, retweet. We want to build up our Twitter base. Likewise, if you are on any other channel, like and share. Like, share, follow, all that good stuff. All right, the title of the show today, I gave it an interesting title. The title is, Who Are the Entitled Parasites? I'm typo. It's those who suck on Medicare and government subsidies like Musk. All right. As you know, Musk just laid off a whole bunch of people and he shut down his charging stations kind of a thing, right? And why did Musk do this? Because even with all the government subsidies he gets, he was unable to keep the, what should I call it? The excessive profits going. So what is the first thing that they do under that situation is they let go people. This guy was never, everybody looked at Musk thinking that Musk was some sort of a success, okay? And what I want to remind folks is something else. Musk wasn't this big success. Things that he did, he bought. He used technology from others, and then he packaged it together, got government subsidies, and called it his own, and became the richest man in the world. It just proves to you when I talk to you about the economic system being flawed and not rewarding those who actually do the work. That's what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and talk about Musk. Notice the parrot, my brother Eric Hayes continues. Musk is pretty successful. Yeah, in the capitalist system he is, but he produces nothing. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. You know, my brother that's on here right now, Mr. Tim Dennehy. Tim Dennehy has a company, and he goes out there and builds things. He goes out there and he hires things for your noun. Use socialist as corporate socialist. Ah, that's an interesting thing to. I kind of prefer that, Tim. I like that. Good wordiology there. I like that. Tim, I was just about to give you some kudos, brother. This guy hires people, he pays them a fair wage, he keeps them on a while. He actually produces something. His intellect builds things. He hires people that build things based on his intellect and his interaction with people. He doesn't say, let me hire X to do this, X to do that, X. Again, that's the difference between those who are capitalists and those who are free enterprisists. Let's understand that. There is a difference between the free enterprises. Okay? Let me explain something to you. Let's see how to put it. I want to put it in the right terms. I really want to put it in the right terms. Our system, because of how we were indoctrinated from birth, okay? Because of how we were indoctrinated from birth, we have learned that this is the system. And it's the most, and the thing about it is not all that far away in techniques. I'm not talking about how you're treated, in techniques from slavery. In slavery, you get somebody to come out, do something, their wages or their sustenance, okay? Tim Donaghy says he makes $350 million more per year than Truth Social. Think about it, brother. Think about it. And yet, Truth Social is making and is worth billions in stocks. That's a racket. That's thuggery. That is stealing. But nobody wants to talk about it. All right. So continuing, folks. Continuing. Um. So therefore, if we follow how we grew up and what we learned when we were growing up that somehow we learned growing up that somehow that person that created something from the beginning, right? That somehow they are entitled to all the spoils of said creation, even though they could not build that creation on their own with their own intellect, or even as more of that came about. So we have to start critically thinking about the distribution of wealth and our own worth. The indoctrination by the Powell memo, after we started to get intelligent with the progressive movement, the Powell memo said we needed to get into schools and everywhere else so that that indoctrination that you had, where you believe that the corporate guys are somehow gods who know everything, we have to get around that. So here is what here is what here is what we got to do. Here's what we got to do. We have to use programs like these. We have to share programs like these. We have to tell people about what we learn on programs like these. To first acknowledge what our worth is. Our worth. Okay? I'm going to give a good example here. And for some of you who know me, you've heard it before, but I'll say it in a different context. I created a product. It was a product used in serial communication. That's computer to computer communications. It came out of my head. I spent months developing this product, hours, hundreds, thousands of hours developing this product to make a piece of hardware in your computer do something that it couldn't. After I got that product developed, I had some options, including what Bezos did. Bezos went ahead and patented one click. That's an interface on the that's the interface on the that you use on your website to talk on Amazon. Oh, he figured out that we can buy stuff with one click and then go ahead and buy the product. That's what he patented. I created real stuff that dropped an RTS signal so that data could be transmitted at a certain rate and picked it up just in time so that it doesn't clip. And when the data comes, and I had scopes and all these things set up to do that. And then after that product was built, I started to sell it. And for those people who wanted to make it a permanent part of their product, they licensed it. You know, if you were going to put it in 1,000 machines, you bought a license for each machine on the order of pennies. Okay. Boeing was my biggest customer at that time. And Boeing went ahead and bought a license for $10,000. Okay. For $10,000. And I remember after getting, they wanted this unlimited license. And I figure unlimited, they're not going to put it on 5,000 test equipment for these planes. I think it was for the testing equipment on the 777 or the 787. I don't remember which one it was. It was to test the avionics on those machines, right? And I just went to when they said they wanted an unlimited license card, they didn't want to have to sit down there and count. We put it in this machine, that machine, the other machine. So I went ahead and just said, okay, for the license, $10,000, and they came back right away and said, signed, no problem, $10,000. And I'm sitting down there. First of all, the first thing that ran through my mind is amazing. The evil part of me said, man, it seems like I probably could have just said, give me 25,000 and got it. But I didn't. So then I started to feel guilty, recognizing, and that's how you know an activist, recognizing that what is occurring is that Boeing would just give me whatever I wanted because ultimately they were going to pass that on to the price of the plane. And the price of the plane, when the people buy the company, when United or Eastern, and so in my age, Eastern or Delta buys it, they're going to pay the price. And then the ultimate people that's going to pay for it is those that have no pricing power. And that is the traveling people, the regular poor and middle class people. And then the guilt came over me. And I'm like, I am just as bad. I am just doing what I'm just playing the game. And that's when, that was one, I shouldn't say that's when, that was one of the turning points for me. When I said, you know what? This system is effed. This system is an evil system. This system takes advantage of those that don't have pricing power. This system takes advantage of those who simply exist or work for you or whatever. You notice when during the pandemic, when all these companies were getting PPO, which is our money, they were banking it for themselves and giving it out in stock buybacks, all these techniques they use to take the money that came in PPP and otherwise. But we still have those of us who are so self-hating that we talk about the welfare mom or the people that are on food stamps, who compared to what the subsidies that we give to the major companies are next to nothing. You don't have, none of us here in most things, none of us here in most things have what's called pricing power. Most of us don't. And when you don't have pricing power, you are at the behest of those who sell the products, including products that you must have. And when you have a system where there's a corporate class and a working class, and the working class is not able to unionize, to work together hard enough to come against that corporate class, what you get is antiseptic slavery. Because at this point, to some extent, it's even worse. Explanation. The slave owner looked at the slave as property. And we all know in America, we treat property better than we treat human beings. So property had to be taken care of. So they had to be fed, they had to be clothed, and they had to be maintained healthy. And if any of that hardware people, slaves, if any of them got out of hand that they could corrupt the others, they had to extricate it. They had to kill it. They had to get rid of it so that it didn't damage the rest. Now, in employment, you get a job, and the employer tell you what they're willing to pay you. Most of the times, it's not what you're worth. And people say, well, you can negotiate XYZ. Well, yes and no. In times of low inflation, not low inflation, I should say, in times of low unemployment, you get some sort of negotiation, but there's still some drawbacks we can go into at another time. But what our economic policies try to do is to keep a 2 to 4% unemployment rate, because they've already calculated that is the figure where people won't ask for their worth. They won't demand their worth or else. In other words, you pay me this or else I don't work, right? PPP did that. PPP during the pandemic, people said, "I'm going to take the money now. I'm going to check out for a while. I'm going to rest for a while." And then you had those some of the conservative. How are they doing that? They're taking. Yeah, I don't have any problem with them doing that at all. That's what the wealthy guy up in the office in Houston or New York that are doing. They don't do much work. Everybody else does the work. Remember that everybody else does the work. That's what we have. So my contention is U.S. agencies urge to tackle Medicare Advantage or other outrageous healthcare. I want you to read that. I'm going to have that in the article for you to look at. But the article that I really want you to see is Elon Musk shows us why individuals can't save the world. It's not for it's not for the billionaire. The billionaire is actually a hazard to us all because the billionaire is the one who gave us inflation. The billionaire is the one who doesn't give us our worth. The billionaire is the one who's responsible for climate change. The billionaires that you see, as Michael Rudden pointed out a few minutes ago, that are out there in COP28, preventing us from getting off of fossil fuels to make it a better thing, a better economy. That's the issue. So, folks, if you're listening to me right now, um, I wasn't. I need to have folks start looking within themselves, start asking themselves if they're willing to open their minds to a different paradigm, one that is different from the only thing that we've ever known. It's not between capitalists and communists or socialists. Those are two different things those are different things altogether. It's not. That's what they need you to believe. They need you to believe that absent capitalism, what we're talking about is their definition of socialism. That's what they want you to have in your mind, as opposed to saying what we need is a bifurcated economy. The reason I wrote this book, How to Make America Utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. And there's a particular chapter that I wrote. Let me see if I can recall that chapter. The chapter 2 talks about indoctrination, both religious, corporate, and scholastic and media indoctrination. I also explain the economic system, the difference between the government sector and the private sector. Talk about billionaires and the wealthy class. Now, the chapter that we need to read is chapter 6, which has the following in it. There is no democracy in our form of capitalism. Capitalism serves the shareholder, not you. And corporate pricing power makes us powerless. I think the first 7 chapters are very important. But the one that I'm going to read right now is called The Meritocracy Fallacy. You are invited or chosen. And I think that is chapter 8. What page is that on? That is on page 92. Let me see if I can get to it real quickly. Because everybody likes to talk about meritocracy and lifting yourself up by the bootstrap, etc. So I'm going to read this one real quickly. But I wish everybody would pick this up. I really wish. And, it's a whole bunch of chapters. It's 216 pages long, but it's not very hard to read. But the chapters I want folks to read is about capitalism and all these other isms that will give you a flavor of how things work. The name of the book is How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. And since I'm here, I'll just go ahead and tell you how to get the book before I read the chapter, because I really want folks to understand that this isn't capitalism versus socialism or anything like that. That's not it at all. If you go to politicsandright.com/books, you'll find the books. But I want to read starting on page 92. It goes like this. Chapter 7, the meritocracy fallacy. You are invited, not chosen. I mean, you're invited or chosen. Many believe we live in a meritocracy. In my previous book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors, I touched on merit and the chosen in 2 chapters that is apropos. In the chapter, We Must Take Back Our Wealth from the Super Rich Methodically Before It Is Too Late, where I included a speech by Mr. Gecko in the Wall Street movie that encapsulates the essence of capitalism in the form we practice. I wrote the following. I learned about free enterprise, but was never indoctrinated by what our business schools try to impart on their students. Capitalism is not free enterprise, and Gecko was not an unrealistic character. We have come to see that today's plutocrats create more damage to the world economy than he ever could. They made an extractive, immoral pilfering system acceptable. While still going through the process of learning the real economic system beyond the macroeconomics courses I took, I went to see the Eddie Murphy movie, Trading Places. While the movie Wall Street was confirming, Trading Places was the movie that opened my eyes to the fraud of a system where those who produce with their labor and intellect were not the beneficiaries of their worth. Eddie Murphy's character was a bum on the streets. The plutocrat brothers made a bet that they could turn an executive into a bum and a bum into a Wall Street executive. The experiment was successful for the brother who turned Eddie Murphy, the bum, into a stock trading executive. The movie had a socio-economic message, but most importantly, it showed how detached the capital markets are from reality. Even though it was just a movie, research shows there is little knowledge. There's little knowledge of anything substantive needed to be a player in the capital markets. One just needs to be chosen to be a member of the club, and being a member affords one an inordinate amount of control over the lives of millions thanks to our corporate structure. The plutocrat brothers in the movie bet $1 on the experiment and would have destroyed 2 lives in the process had Eddie Murphy's character not exposed the bet. Unfortunately for most Americans, those responsible for discovering the bets are willfully asleep at the wheel, and Americans have been paying the price for this for more than 40 years. No human being has provided enough labor and intellect in our current economy to be worth 100 millions, let alone billions of dollars. The hoarding of capital is on the backs of most working people, directly or indirectly. I am sure you have worked for companies and have seen manipulation like the former, where advancement had little to do with the person's actual worth. Some are chosen just because. I am sure you are acquainted with many singers who are on par or better than many megastars. Many artists were chosen by the industry. The internet has added some temporary democratization and meritoriousness to the process. But with major corporations controlling the internet plumbing, the corporate structure still has ultimate control. I further pointed out in the chapter of my book, It's Worth It, titled Our Economic System Depends on Your Path to Mediocrity, the following inconvenient truths. Our economic system is not based on pure merit. Instead, it is based on being chosen. In other words, there are many who are qualified, but only a few are chosen. Many MBAs are just as qualified for any job at banks and investment banking firms, but a select few are chosen based on subjective criteria within the qualified group. This applies from profession to profession. Since the 70s, we have had a 400% productivity increase. In that scenario, we should be working 10 hours a week with abundant leisure time. The rest of the world was like the heat sink of an internal combustion engine or air conditioner for American capitalism. It afforded a bloated plutocracy, but there was enough for the working class. But to sustain the plutocracy desired growth rates, the American worker became the final source of extraction. As they reached the level of indentured servitude, the entire system collapses, which is where we are at right now. For us to make a change, we must first understand the pathology of the masters of the economic system under which we live. After understanding it, we can easily see why the masses will never succeed. If we are to correct our system, it will mean creating a real free enterprise economic system where those who were not chosen or did not want to be chosen can function within an economy where they can succeed because of an established societal safety net, Medicare for all, child care support, affordable education. Change starts with getting out of our indoctrination fog. As we continue to tell the inconvenient truths, minds are changed and we will have the tools to assert our worth, demand, and take what we have all worked for. So I want, again, I am plugging my book big time here. And the reason why is as Trump tries to lie his way to the presidency, it is important for us to know these realities. How to make America utopia. Take away, and let me start scrolling my books on there. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. And of course, we have a new limerick from he doesn't want to be called the mayor of politics done right. He wants to be called the poet laureate of politics done right. And that would be Tom Zarnik. Love my Tom Zarnik. So here we go. Limerick, ready to go. There was once a justice named Samuel Alito who often behaves like a judicial bandito. For MAGA flags flying over his house, not my fault, he says, and blames his spouse. Asserts his refusal to calls for recusal, treats every Dem critic like a pesky mosquito. It was bad day in Manhattan for Donald. Found guilty. Oh, it was two limericks. Okay, that was the first limerick. The second limerick is, it was a bad day in Manhattan for Donald J. Trump. Found guilty of 34 felonies in one clump. Next, his penalty, what could it be? Service to the community? A lengthy stay in jail captivity? But what would DJT say? The sentence, the penance should be to atone for his many crimes against Lady Justice. Thus this, his own male fantasy, a spanking to Stormy 34 times, one of each felony on his big orange rump. Oh my God. That was two good ones, Mike. We got a two for today. We got a two for today. Carl Cox said something. Trading places is about the commodities market, not the stock market. I understand, but they work on the same concept. They work on the same concept. Price, supply, demand, all that good stuff. So, I mean, when there's going to be shortages of corn, the price of the corn futures go up, that kind of a stuff. I get it, my brother Carl Cox. I get it. But it's the same thing with the stock market and everything else. Okay? All right. Those were two good ones, man. Those were two good ones. All right, folks, we are close to the end of the program. Now is the time for me to ask for your support. You can first support, of course, by going and get our books, right? As you can see, the books are very educational, I promise. Mike Cisak says, Egberto, you still haven't answered my simple question. In order to make 34 misdemeanors into felonies, you had to have an underlying crime. Right, exactly. The underlying crime is that he cheated on these forms. And number two, the next crime is corrupting the election. That it's not hard to figure this out at all. It's not hard at all. Sorry, brother, commodity and equity markets are different. I agree that they're different, my brother Tim Danahy. But what I'm saying is they're still based on supply and demand. And yes, I understand that physically. Let me just say, I understand I know what the commodities market is and what the stock market is. I get it. I know that one has stock based on a particular company that exists. The commodities is our products that are going to be there or not there, that are growing or not, etc. I get it. I honestly get it. Let's see what else. Paraben. Okay. Now I have to go ahead and say, please support the program. And how can you support the program? First of all, you can go ahead and get our books, right? And how do you get our books? go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. You can also become a patron, like many of you here are. Become a patron by going to politicsdoneright.com/patron, Patreon, Patreon, patron. You can also support us by becoming a subscriber to our newsletter. And how do you do that? Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Newsletter. Doing that gives us the opportunity to keep doing this. We have a lot of great supporters, and we learn together. I've learned from you. You've learned from me. The books, I've done a lot of research and putting these books together, etc. So please support what we must do to keep us going. But I got to get out of here. It's 4 o'clock. So let's see if I have any quick thing that I need to take care of. I'll read these things offline, okay? My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.